Hey everybody, Jessie D here in sunny San Leon, Texas, down here on the Galveston Bay with my little buddy Cole laying in my lap here. And I'm hoping this finding each and every one of you having a wonderfully blessed Veterans Day 2023. Great appreciation goes out to all the many veterans, more especially my daddy, my hero, Jessie Calvin McCulley, who spent 4 years in the Pacific Theater in World War II. I love you, Daddy, and my beautiful mother. I'm so very blessed to have had my parents. A lot of craziness going on in the world right now, and just getting crazier with each passing day. All this mess in the Middle East and Europe, and now right here at home, United States of America, our home. Our great nation's being taken over without ever firing a shot. Heard it be told that it could be done. And it's happening. Destroying our history and doing everything they can to destroy what millions have fought for, and many given the ultimate sacrifice fighting for, is our freedom. You know, we have so many people in our nation right now taking advantage of our veteran sacrifices, living off our hard-earned tax dollars, off their sacrifices, and basically hating America. I mean, it's real. And it's starting to piss me off, and it ought to be pissing you off too. I recently had a conversation with a close friend of mine, a beautiful young lady, and I'm not really sure what inspired the conversation other than what's going on in our nation right now. But it was just her and I, and she started to share her story because she actually came from Cuba many, many years ago. She came as a young girl, as a young lady, but not before having to deal with a whole lot of tragedy and heartache in the early years of her life. And I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, it literally broke my heart listening to her story. She was very compassionate about her story, and I can understand why. The main thing is because it's real. It's a real story. It's a real life. In the beginning, her mother and father were treated somewhat nicely because her father was an auto mechanic that kept the government vehicles in order and running, so that meant that they actually had an automobile too. And then came that time that her father refused to give alliance to the Communist Party and informed the government that he wanted to leave Cuba and go to America for a better life, and take his family with him. Within days of that being said, the government took the automobile, came into their home, inventoried everything that they had in their house, and was told that when they leave, if they get to leave, everything better be there and nothing taken or nothing damaged. They took her father to a work camp for men where he stayed for, best I can remember, like 2 years, long time. He instructed his kids, though, her and her brother, not to give alliance to the Communist Party. And when he asked to do so, they followed their father's will. They refused at school, and when the time came for them to give the alliance, they didn't do it. They refused to wear the red scarf, which indicated that you were giving alliance to the Communist Party. They were immediately shunned, basically treated as worms and scum, which would just be a horrible thing to have to go through as a kid. And I think any of us can say to that. And school for them was more like a concentration camp. They stayed in barracks with individual hammocks lined up side by side, and their school was basically no different than working in a sweatshop. They worked in potato fields, picking potatoes, and heat was excessive, and they had really nothing but brim hats, what she said, to cover their heads, and potatoes is pretty much all they got to eat. That was breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I guess if you got potatoes, you eat potatoes, and that's what you have. Periodically, her father, along with some of the other men in the camp, were bused to the center of town to meet with their families, just for a brief visit and then go back to the camp. And her mom would always try to make something special for her dad whenever he was there to eat, you know, and to enjoy a short time that he would be there. So after about 2 years and a very difficult journey, I would say, they finally made it to America, where they are now, American citizens. And now her father has passed, but her mother is still living. unfortunately got dementia, but she is still alive. I know the story was much broader than this, but there's no way that I can remember everything that she told me, and truly wish that I could have actually recorded her message to share with the world, because it was a very important message that everyone needs to be listening to right now. It was hard seeing her expressions, and I mean, sincere crying at times during her conversation is enough to make anybody's heart break, if you got a heart at all. And I do, and I consider them very close. I think the thing that was hardest to understand at the end of her conversations, how many people just like her who are in fear on what's going on in America right now, because they understand the horrific life that they experienced and don't want to relive it. I think the thing that bothered me too the most was her telling me that nobody wants to listen. Nobody wants to hear her story. Nobody wants to understand the fact that she lived it. She understands it, along with many others just like her in this great nation that I'm sure of, have gone through the same experiences and felt the same pains and fears. They don't want to go through that anymore. But of all people, they are the ones we need to listen to. I love her with all my heart. I consider her family. I consider her husband my brother, and her my sister. And I just felt like it was only right to share her message. And not that anyone's going to listen to me either, but I felt like it was a story that needed to be told, especially right now with our current administration and everything that's going on around us in this great nation and in the world. It's just crazy. You know, when I was overseas many years ago, I had the opportunity to visit the concentration camps in Dachau, which was Dachau and Warsaw. But when I was in the prison camp or the museum in Dachau, the one thing that stood out more than anything when I was there and leaving that, was they had this big sign above it, and I've told this story before, but it had this big sign. It's written in every speakable language in the world. But what it says is, for those of you who believe, believe. But for those of you who do not believe, never believe. It can't happen again. My friends, you better take a very close look around you, because it is happening again. It's happening all around us. So if you love this great nation, which I do, and I'm proud that I was raised that way I was, and I know there's millions of you out there that do as well, I encourage you to stand tall, talk to your neighbors, your friends, and anybody that'll listen about how we need to stand up now and take our nation back. It's very important. So with that, that's Jessie D, Mr. Cole here, my little buddy, sending love to all from sunny San Leon, Texas. It ain't too sunny right now, kind of rainy, but that's okay. We need the rain. So with that, God bless America. God bless our troops. God bless law enforcement. And I can't go without saying, God bless Texas. We love you all. So with that, here goes the bleep. Bleep.